All right, there'll be no Triple Crown winner in 2025 as the connections of Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty have decided that they're going to pass on the Preakness. My read on this is that Sovereignty is probably sound. Bill Mott said he just sustained a little cut when Chunk of Gold came over on him coming out of the gates, but other than that, everything looks really good. He was pleased with how he was eating. Nick Tamaro put out a tweet. Nick Tamaro, very good handicapper, he put out a tweet saying in the last 5 years, Bill Mott is 3 for 58 with horses returning in 14 days or less. His ROI is just 52 cents. So this kind of feels like a thing where, Mott's had some real bad luck recently. He's been kind of cold with horses coming back in short rest. And, he wants the extra time to go into the Belmont at Saratoga. And of course, Sovereignty is owned by Godolphin, oil sheiks there, and they finally won their Kentucky Derby. I don't know how big the Triple Crown is in their eyes and taking a shot at it. I mean, this horse might run at 4 just because of the Dubai World Cup. They love sending their horses over there for the Dubai World Cup, so Sovereignty might be brought back at age 4 just to take a shot at the Dubai World Cup. And what you really have to question is the spacing of the races in the Triple Crown. I mean, it's the phrase "the Triple Crown" was coined in 1930 by daily racing form writer Charles Hatton. Now, here's a horse from 1930 named Ironsides. Just in June, a 22-day span. Starting in June 6th, Ironsides made 8 starts in 22 days. Now, this is in 1930. Even for 1930, that's pretty aggressive. And Ironsides was a pretty, solid stakes caliber horse. But horses ran so much more frequently in those days. And he's turning an eighth of a mile works in 153 and 2 in between all this. Even the work tabs, if horses were to run like 2 weeks apart in the 1930s, it'd turn in a couple breezes in between. So it's just the modern day horses are not as tough, not as hardy, can't race as much, and then you can't give them things to help them run like you could in the past. It was you look at that first Triple Crown winner, Sir Barton. Go look at his trainer was a pharmacist. Talked openly about some of the drugs and medications he'd give his horses. Just horses from that time period, the 1930s, they could just pound out starts, and you don't see that anymore. And now with all the HISA regulations and everything, you can't even give some of the stuff to help them run that you could a few years earlier. And as far as like the durability of horses go, this is just with each generation, they seem like they're more fragile and need more time in between starts. Here's an iron horse from an era of iron horses, a horse named Camel. This horse is a 4-year-old, made 75 starts. Now there's 52 weeks in a year. This horse was running every 4 calendar days for an entire year. And then he comes back at age 5, 71 starts. So he made 146 starts between his ages 4 and 5. Age 6, 62 starts. Age 7, 72 starts. This horse would go to the post every 3 days. So I'm as traditionalist as anyone, and the Triple Crown's something that's been one of the few things in horse racing that was always right and not wrong, but it's gotten to the point where you really have to look at the spacing. Ideally the Preakness would be 4 weeks after the Derby, and then, another, you move the Belmont back ideally. Now, you'd need Pimlico and Naira to cooperate to do this, but I just think it's kind of where this is going, where it has to go. Even if Sovereignty decided to wheel back in the Preakness, and run back in 2 weeks rest, he would have faced a pretty watered down field. So, I mean, just if you could stretch the Preakness out, an extra couple weeks, you get a deeper field. You'd have more time going into the Belmont. You, in a way, it actually would make it somewhat tougher because you have better quality of fields in the three races. Granted, you don't have the durability of wheeling back in 2 weeks and running 3 times in 5 weeks at 3 different tracks under 126-pound impost. And so I never thought I'd be in the camp that would want to mess with the Triple Crown and move dates around, but it's just realistically following the sport for as long as I have, it's just the way, and this trend's going to keep going. Trainers are going to want to give horses more and more time in between races. They're going to make fewer starts. I mean, you go back, the first past performances were printed in the 1890s, and I've looked at numerous horses from the 1890s to the 1900s to the 1910s to the 1920s. I mean, spent entire days in libraries just going over their past performances and their workout history and how they were brought about, and you're never going to get back to that. I mean, the horses are just not going to be that tough again. Who knows what they were even given the horses. This is from an old Steve Haskin article in The Blood Horse. He says, before the advent of saliva testing in the 1930s, drug incidents went pretty much unnoticed or were ignored. Down here, he says, by 1930, one of the more popular drugs to administer to horses was heroin. Although lethal in large doses, horses were able to tolerate it due to its addictive qualities. The use of heroin on the backstretch lured a number of unsavory characters, mainly addicts hoping to get a fix. One such character was Railroad Red, who would go from barn to barn serving as a guinea pig to test the purity of the heroin before it was given to the horses. For years, trainers used Railroad Red's services. Red eventually got tired of the routine and decided to go straight. He locked himself in a barn loft for 3 days and went cold turkey. Although he never touched the stuff again, he turned to liquor as a substitute and became a drunk. As far as Sir Barton, the very first Triple Crown winner, Sir Barton, his trainer was a chemist named Bedwell. And like I said earlier, here's an article. This is in a newspaper in New York. Trains horses with arsenic. One of the surprises of the meeting at the Empire City Racetrack is the successful running of the horses owned and trained by H.G. Bedwell, formerly a druggist of Denver, Colorado, which business he gave up a few years ago on account of ill health. Arsenic, a deadly poison, is the secret through which Bedwell has been able to keep his horses in good racing condition, and every day they have a portion in their feed as a tonic. Horses, like men, lose their vital forces through hard work, said Mr. Bedwell. In order to tone them up, I give them arsenic in small doses. It serves as a tonic for the blood. And with the blood in condition, my horses thrive and are able to race at their best speed. So not only did you have trainers giving horses things in that period, they were brazen enough to go to newspaper writers. Hey, I'm having this great meet. I'm doing awesome. All my horses are getting arsenic. I mean, it's a different time period. Definitely different time period back then. I mean, nowadays, I don't even want to get into this too deep, but yeah, it's just the way it's trending. It's just trending like you need to move the Preakness back a couple weeks. Pimlico and Naira have to cooperate and just space out the Triple Crown series. And hopefully with the more time between starts, you'll have less excuse to, duck this race for that race. And you get stronger fields, bigger fields. It's a real sad day for tradition. And this is one of there's some bad traditions in racing, and Triple Crown series has been as great a tradition as there is, and you hate to mess with that, but it's to the point now where you really have got no alternative. I mean, when this series in the 1930s, when series was built up in the 1930s, no big deal to come back in 2 weeks. I mean, that's almost like, they're giving them a couple breezes, trying to keep them sharp in between, in between those 2 weeks. So, but anyway, that's the news. Sovereignty, the Kentucky Derby winner, going to bypass the Preakness, not going. Won't matter to us. We're still going to handicap the race. We're still going to bet the race. We're still going to have, a lot of insights. And, I love the Preakness. I love Preakness week. So looking forward to that. Have a wonderful day, everyone.